My name is Rawan Damin and I spent more than 20 years doing documentaries. I'm a documentary filmmaker and I did some TV investigations. I'm leading ARIJ, the Arab Reporters for Investigative Journalism, since 2020. It's a training organization, mainly training investigative journalists and fact-checkers for the last 17 years in Middle East and North Africa. We started in 3 countries, Jordan, Syria and Lebanon. I'm based in Amman, Jordan, and the whole office of ARIJ, and we expanded slowly to cover all Arab countries in Middle East and North Africa. We are very proud that we have covered our community is around 3,000 people we trained and coached during the last 17 years, investigative journalists and fact-checkers, and we concentrate on empowerment, networking and innovation. I admire so much organizing a conference and what does it mean to have different breakout rooms, sessions, lunch, receptions, all of that, because we do organize our annual conference. This year it will be our 70th annual conference in Jordan. It's from the 6th to the 8th of December, and we'll have a QR code for registration, and being online, it's free to be online with us. ARIJ incubated and launched the Arab Fact Checkers Network starting 2020. Now this network is a strong community of fact checkers. This is umbrella for more than 40 organizations and initiatives from more than 12 Arab countries. We have strong 250 fact checkers who are ready to jump in any crisis and fact check together from 16 different Arab countries. Our theory of change of AFCN, the Arab Fact Checkers Network, concentrates on capacity building, networking, safety and innovation. We have added safety recently with the different crises we had in the region just last year, 2023. It started unfortunately with an earthquake in Turkey, Syria, Lebanon, then the civil war in Sudan, then the floods in Libya, the earthquake in Morocco, and then Gaza, Palestine. So 5 different emergencies and crises just in 2023. And in each, we have our community there. And when you have community, it means you have friends, you have people whom you had lunch with, dinner with, worked for hours, months, and sometimes years with. So you know them by name, you know the names of their kids, and then you cannot but do something in these crises. So we tried, and our focus was to training pre-publication fact-checking in media organizations, pre-2016, but then slowly we came to the post-publication fact-checking. And so we do believe very strongly in cross-border collaboration, and so we try to cross-border collaborate with East Asia, with Africa, Latin America, global north as well, from the States, Canada, Australia and Europe. And this is AFCN team. We are very glad that Seja Murtada, raise your hand. Seja is with us. She's our Arab Fact Checkers Manager. And we have Fatima, Ahmed, Khurwat and Bara, and they are joining us online. And this is a small team that coordinate the work of the network, train and also raise the empowerment of this network, and also jump to help when there is safety issues for any organization and or member of this community. The Gaza war, when this started, and now it has been ongoing for 9 months. And when it started, we never expected we will be in Sarajevo in June 2024, and this is ongoing. So it's a very, very new fact-checking approach. We cannot say, although we try to say we give you today 10 lessons learned from the experience, but the experience is ongoing. And maybe after we reflect on it, after it ends, and there is an end for this war that seems like not ending, most welcome, it will be a different lessons learned. But it was so different because it's an international level crisis, and Israel and Egypt did not allow any journalist or fact checker to get into Gaza to see what's going on and also to cover the war. And so many media outlets said that those local Palestinian journalists are not credible because they are not looking at the conflict and the war for cold eyes. We need a Bosnian, American, German journalist to come in, or a fact checker from Ghana, Chile to go in to see things and fact check with cold eyes and with objectivity. And unfortunately, those journalists and fact checkers were not allowed to go in. Some very courageous even went and stood at the border to demand that we want to go in. And some of them even covered the war here in Bosnia and in Sarajevo, went in and stood at the borders, and they were never allowed, now for 9 months. In all different other conflicts we had in the region, in the Middle East, like Syria, Iraq, we had access. People got in, sometimes smuggling through mountains to go in. That happened also in Afghanistan and Ukraine. But in Gaza, there was zero access. Unfortunately, our community in ARIJ, we trained more than 900 Palestinians in Gaza in the last 17 years. 250 of them in the last 5 years. 22 of them did with us investigations. What does it mean to do an investigation or a long, term, full fact-checked report? It means they work with us for months and even years. And for all of those, the safety became a big issue. There was nowhere to relocate them. There was zero physical safety. There was zero digital safety because they have to connect to the Israeli telecom and the Israeli net to have even net and electricity. You have, of course, witnessed and what's happening with the shutdown of the internet and the electricity. There's, of course, until now, zero legal accountability and a huge mental problem. Until today, although some of our community asked that at some stage for sure they will need dental support because all of them are traumatized at this stage, but because they are within the war, there is no way you will do remotely mental support or in-person mental support or all of that, but at some stage this will be a big issue. We ourselves even are traumatized of what's happening, although we live far away. And even fact checkers from the region who have been fact checking this through imagery and videos and images, horrible, of bloodshed, massacres, and all of that have been also very much on stress and traumatized because they need to see the video several times, as you know, and track all of that. So some of them we are now supporting with mental support. But we always had this comprehensive way of looking at safety. It's digital, physical, legal, mental, and career safety. We added career safety after COVID because we noticed that some fact checkers and investigative journalism are leaving the career. They are not able to sustain themselves in the career with the media landscape changing, with advertisements and all of that. So if you are a fact checker who want to specialize in climate change fact checking, we help our community through fixing their LinkedIn, fixing their CV, Arabic and English, and putting a career path. You need to go to Global Fact 11, you need to go network with this person, you need to go do this course. Otherwise, it's very difficult to continue. Gaza also had organized disinformation campaigns. I'm sure you followed this very closely and needed collaboration, I think, much more than ever. So Saja and I thought a lot about the 10 lessons. What are the 10 lessons we learned from this experience? How we can be prepared, how we can be pre-detective, and let's learn from our experience. And we say this because crisis can be an earthquake, it can be a war, it can be an election, it can be violence, it can be a crisis even economically, and those lessons can be replicated or benefited from in many situations. The first lesson is really to have a strong connection with your community. So if you are now a fact-checking organization in Bosnia, who are the community that you will work with if a crisis happens? Do you know your community well? Are you tracking them? Do you have your contacts with them? Are you meeting with them regularly? And there is a trust built between you and your community. What helped us in ARIJ and in the Arab Fact Checkers Network, that we had this strong connection with the community. We always train them, we always talk to them, they always talk to us. Sometimes they come to Amman, Jordan to attend our annual forum. And so we reached out to them immediately when the war happened and asked them what are their priorities within our possibilities. So for example, ARIJ was not able to do any relocation because everybody, needed a safe place, and there is no safe place in Gaza. There is zero safe place in Gaza. So we cannot to promise things we cannot do. And this is the first lesson. From now on, even if you are in a country that looks like a very peaceful country and there's no big emergencies or crises, what's your community? You might be shut down by the government. You might be against a hate speech campaign by one of the political parties. Who are the community that you will reach to? Then we ask them, those community, what are their priorities that we can help with? And at that stage, very early in October, they started losing their homes. They started losing members of their families. We had 2 journalists from our small community that lost all of their kids. They started losing everything. And when the home is bombed, the media office is bombed, your media equipment vanishes. And some of the journalists and fact checkers start from the beginning, October, November, said, we don't want to work in journalism and fact checking anymore. We don't believe in this anymore. We don't want to do this. And we started buying from them their equipment secondhand, giving it to the majority of journalists and fact checkers who said, we want to continue working. And some of them, until this moment, they are continuing to working. Some of them are not allowed to leave because anyone who wants to leave, they need their names to be approved by the Israelis, and they are not approving many names because they are journalists and fact checkers, and some of them, they don't want to leave because they feel they want to continue the coverage from their homeland. And so we started buying for them from within Gaza Strip media equipment. This means a mobile, a smartphone to be able to film and edit, a laptop, a microphone, a camera, a lens. There were many requests for batteries, to keep on going, and eSIMs. Unfortunately, there was no way to get any equipment from outside to Gaza Strip until this moment. I myself called the Red Cross, and they said that the Israelis don't allow any equipment like this. So we started buying from within Gaza. And that's when we needed the strong community, because we know the production houses, we know the offices, we know the stores. And so we started, even some of the stores' owners were killed, and their families opened for us the stores to buy the equipment needed. And you can imagine, buying equipment within a war. We bought equipment with invoices, with pictures. We did this crowdfunding campaign. We never did crowdfunding campaign. We did a crowdfunding campaign. Ordinary people, even some of my Jewish friends in America were some of the first people to contribute to this campaign. We, until today, during 9 months, managed to help 240 journalists and fact checkers in Gaza. Slowly, we started reaching out to the journalist with a mobile to give her, to find that she doesn't have food for her family, clothes for her family. All of them are now displaced. None of our community are in homes. All of them are in tents. So we started buying tents for them. It became media equipment plus humanitarian aid. Otherwise, you cannot do it, because we said we will not give somebody a laptop and say, yes, you can continue working while they don't have food on the table for their family. And the slogan was, coverage must continue. And it did. Otherwise, there is no images, videos of what's happening in Gaza. We refused to do any investigations from October to February 2024, because you cannot do investigations, proper ones, under the war. But unfortunately, in February, and from the community themselves, they said that the evidences are being destroyed slowly, and the witnesses are being killed. So there's no way, if we don't do something now, maybe there will be no stories in the future. And so we reached out to a bigger consortium, and we had Forbidden Stories from France, Paper Trail from Germany, Guardian from the UK, Le Monde, AFP. We built this big consortium, and there was 13 different newsrooms that worked on Gaza project that was launched only yesterday at 7 a.m. So you can check the hashtag Gaza project, and there's now already more than 10 stories published in Arabic, English, German, French, and even Hebrew language, and we were very keen to get it to the Israeli audience. And the stories concentrated on how Israel targeted killing journalists and fact checkers. It wasn't like those journalists were killed because they were with the civilians and nobody knew. No, it was a trend, and we documented for 4 months, from February until yesterday. This project worked, 13 different newsrooms, 50 journalists spent, and many of them fact checkers, because there was no way to get those stories without strong fact checking and verification, from satellite images to comparing. And you will notice this in different stories that were published. The Intercept in the States published 2 of the stories yesterday. Still some stories to get out until the end of the week. And so those journalists under the war and those fact checkers, they filmed from us from the streets of Gaza to help fact check those stories. So our first is to concentrate on the people in Gaza, but then we said who can help, and the first to help are Palestinians in the West Bank and inside Israel. So we had emergency fund for fact-checking organizations. There's 3 fact-checking organizations. I think one of them is in the conference this year. She was Rihab Atiyah from Kashif on the panel of the war just before lunch or after lunch. And we succeeded to get for the 3 fact-checking organization emergency fund to help them work 24/7. CFI from France helped us to get this fund to help them to work 6 months. Now we are even trying to secure more emergency fund for them to continue, because they are very small organizations, and one of them I think even have voluntarily more than paid people, and so the 3 of them we wanted them to work 24/7. And then we went to the regional. We said, okay, this is the local, this is Palestinians within Gaza too, because they have very strong relations. What can we do with the Arab Fact Checkers Network? And so we reached out to the whole community of the Arab Fact Checkers Network, and many of them started helping fact checking from all Arab countries. We even did a webinar in October from Palestine, Lebanon, Egypt, and Iraq, talking to the world. We did translation into English to get how we can combat the misdisinformation campaign concerning Gaza and Palestine. As I said, mental safety was very important, but we didn't recognize the impact of it until we really started seeing people traumatized, having nightmares. Some people even living in Amman, Jordan, or in Rabat, Morocco, have been starting to think that their kids have been died, so the mother will wake up in the night, go to the other room, check that her kids are alive. So we started hearing those stories. So we did group mental support, online, offline mental therapy, and then we made psychologists available for one-to-one consultations. One of our community got 14 continuous sessions, because people who lived in the war in Libya, in Iraq, in Sudan, in Lebanon, in Yemen, all the other images came back when this war happened. So even the traumatized they had from before came back, and they wanted, it became a very complicated situation. Then after all of that, we searched a lot about what can we do, because stress, trauma, and they started less concentration, making more mistakes. You had to do second and third fact checking after the first fact checker. It became a bit complicated with the workflow. We reached out to DART Center, one of the best centers on trauma for journalists in the States, and they advised us to do something called peer-to-peer support. So now when we are back to Amman, Sami Aish, our communication manager, and I will be flying back home, and we will be having a training by DART Center on how to do peer-to-peer support, so we can all within our team and the community help each other. And so it's extremely important when you do this, not just to take care of the community in crisis, but your own team, who we noticed how much quickly they can go into trauma. And the international wider community, you will look at those lessons as if they are linear, but they are not. They are circles, they are connected to each other. So when you focus on something parallel, you need to work on the other things. So on October 15th, we reached out to AFCN and said how we can get the international community to support. And the international community, even in Japan, India, Pakistan, Australia, they started getting content in Arabic language that is fake. or the translation is not correct, or the images said this is from Gaza, but originally it's from Syria, and all of these things. So we said, okay, we need to connect all those people. So we reached out to AFCN and they disseminated the news. We are opening AFCN, Arab Fact Checkers Network, is opening a Slack group and then connecting everybody from the community who lied into this. More than 60 fact-checking organizations from more than 40 countries joined the Slack group and started fact-checking together on translation, research resources, cross-collaboration, and it was an excellent experience. So I'm asking Saja at the end of our talk to give us concrete examples to see how this happened, but it was super excellent to the extent that now we are expanding it from Gaza, Palestine alone to the Middle East and North Africa issues, because the collaboration happened was unbelievable. I don't know if this will be working. It's not, no problem. We did some videos about this collaboration. Then the wider audience. We started noticing that there is a lot that's happening. And so we have this chatbot, it's B2C. It's for the wider audience and it's free. So if you are a normal engineer in Cairo, in Egypt, and you want to check something that came to you in Arabic, you can reach out to the chatbot. It's through a WhatsApp number and say, can you please check this for me? And then the fact checkers from the Arab Fact Checkers Network community started fact checking and giving priority for all the things coming about Gaza, Israel, Palestine. And so between October and May this year, we fact checked more than 500 pictures, videos, text, and it's personalized. So if you send the message, you will get a reply in 24 hours about specifically this issue. Either we'll say we cannot fact check this, it's not, it's we were not able to verify if it's true or not, or we did. And it's connected with AI, because if it is before that check, there's no need for a human to come on board, and automatically you will get that this was fact checked before and this is the result of it. Parallel to that, we had a project with Google News Initiative called AFCN Fact Lab, and we did a TOT for the first time for 18 different fact checkers from 11 Arab countries, and we sent them in person. They trained so far more than 3,000 students, professors, journalists, fact checkers in the field. And that was extremely important to get the message in person rather than only online. And many of the examples were from Gaza, Palestine. Even a couple of the fact checkers were from Palestine, West Bank, and they trained around 200 people already in person in the West Bank in Palestine. Connecting to AI, in our case, AI helped us to facilitate the work of our fact checkers. It made it more effective and faster. During the crisis, we really benefited, especially from INVED in Arabic. We Arabize INVED tools, and we worked closely with Full Fact AI tools in Arabic to make it Arabized. We became, through this crisis also, the largest community using Full Fact AI tools that are excellent to get this more effective faster. But at the same time, of course, we know that Gaza war demonstrated the harmful use of AI. We never saw AI-generated content as this time in the war, and there was a very important to provide AI literacy capacity building for the fact checkers themselves and for the audience in general. Even big media outlets like Al Jazeera, Al Arabiya, Sky, BBC Arabic in the region fell into mistakes in the war due to AI-generated images and videos. From this big database where all the fact checkers work together, we had now huge information that we didn't fully have the time to study and analyze, but we think that there is a big importance to see what the trends and how they are studied, and to understand the responsible, how it started, who is doing this, and how we can benefit from this in the future. I think it's extremely important. We did mistakes at the beginning of how to gather this information. So start from the beginning doing the database in the right way, so it will help you to cleanse it and visualize it and study it in the future. And I think in crisis, it's very important to say that community and solidarity comes first. So without any budget or any extra things, people offered time, offered support. We had some fact checkers supported with translation from Danish to Arabic, from Arabic to German. It was extraordinary. Some supported even with graphic design. Some said we are volunteering of finding resources. Some fact-checking organization gave their CrowdTangle access free to others and shared even mental health tips and support. You wouldn't imagine how much people were like 24/7 ready to help when the crisis happened. And then I learned that friends really are clear when you are in crisis, not when you are in peace. Like at that time, you know who your friends are. If you are a fact-checking organization or a media outlet now in the room and you would like to join the Slack workplace, you can, there's, I think, also papers that were disseminated. So everybody, it doesn't have, a brochure, or you can scan this QR code and join the Slack group where you'll find 63 organizations working together, writing all the time on Slack group, I need this, who can help me in this, and all of that.